to see you.
Good afternoon, everybody, and happy 4th of July, happy Independence Day, happy Treason Day. It's where we became a birth of America and our nation. I'm Joseph Rice. I'm the coordinator of Liberty Watch of Josephine County, and we are hosting this along with the Josephine County Republican Women's Group. This is the third annual, and I'm glad to see, it seems each year this doubles and doubles, and we seem to be in a more important time in our nation's history where we can all come together as Americans today and celebrate being Americans. So as we move on with everything, Americans, yes. I'd like to introduce our Master of Ceremonies, Mr. Bill Mayer, and he's going to take over and run the program for everybody. And please enjoy what this is. Listen to the words of our founding fathers in our documents and the Declaration which made us this great nation that we are today.
Thank you, Joseph. Are you ready to rock and roll? That's what I would always say at Brit. You know, there'd be somebody there. Anyway, Bill Meyer from KMED, 99.3 KCMD in Grants Pass. By the way, wonderful to see Carl from KJO. Carl Wilson, we're going to hear from you in just a moment. Such a servant of the community. By the way, I miss you, buddy. We miss you already. Seriously. This is one Independence Day, and I really don't like calling it 4th of July. In fact, I hated that. Happy 4th of July! Happy 4th of July! 4th of July is a date. Independence Day actually has some meaning to it. And there is, if there's one year that I almost wish that we could declare independence, just do it again. I don't know if anybody has that thought. Maybe just, instead of just reading the Declaration of Independence, just declare independence once again. We have quite a battle in front of us because the soft Civil War is hardening. I think you'd have to agree so far. And there is one vision of America, and that's what I see in the streets right now. I don't like that vision of America. It's being portrayed. And then there is the, I guess maybe you call it trad America, traditional vision of America, which I think has a lot going for it, a lot worthwhile. We have a battle in front of us right now. It's a real battle. There's no kidding. There is a soft civil war going on right now. And I think the part that's not in the streets, or the part of it that's not in the streets, is still a little bit asleep at the switch and kind of thinking, oh, that's all right, or if we elect the right politician, everything's going to go okay. I wish it were that simple. There are certain things that we're going to have to do, and I'll even give just a small example of holding elected officials to their oath of office. And one example I would give here in Southern Oregon is how there is a very hands-off approach, in my opinion, on law enforcement when it comes to mobbing up of streets and blocking of streets and taking over of streets. And at the same time, boy, Southern Oregon Right to Life better have its permits and better not do anything outside before they go in front of Planned Parenthood. And God forbid if you have a firearm and you find yourself in fear of your life, and then you end up displaying that firearm or drawing that firearm when you're surrounded by a mob that would just as soon, if not beat you up, in some cases on the worst end, kill you. That's a serious issue right now. That's something we're going to have to address with our councils, our district attorneys, and that's something I'm going to be focusing on over the next few weeks and months, because when you have maybe one person who's yelling at you and spittling at you, it's fine. You have 6 or 7 or 10 or 20 or 40 or 50 pounding on your vehicle, reaching in, trying to open up your car door. What is that line? Well, there have been a few people that have already been popped by the local well, justice system, if you want to call it that. And I am a little concerned at the hypersensitivity that there's one set of rules for the mob and a different set of rules for someone who's not the mob. I think there's a little bit of this, let's find a few gazelles and take them down and keep people in fear. I'm going to be talking about that on my program, and we're going to be working through that over the coming weeks because we need some serious questions answered of our own justice system locally in Jackson and Josephine County. So, thank you.
Yes, sir.
You know, a petition for a right to redress, right of redress, I think you may recall that. I think we're going to be talking about that in the upcoming. So, first things first. Now that I've had my little say, let's get Pastor Evan Googley on for the Faith Lutheran Church to come on up, and let's have a heck of a rock and roll invocation.
Yes, sir.
Around 1878, a pastor and theologian by the name of C.F.W. Walther gave a series of lectures in St. Louis about communism and socialism. I came across these recently, and the prayers before the lectures I found to be more applicable today than ever, so I will borrow his words for our opening prayer. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, Amen. O God, you have created man, originally good and happy, and placed him in a beautiful paradise, that this might be his home. But at last, man has fallen from you, and because of this fall has become a poor, wretched creature on his life on earth has become a life of toil and trouble. But instead of accusing himself and pleading for your mercy, man accuses you, denies the providence and government of your mercy, and flees from you in despair, or gives expression in his heart to the fearful words, there is no God. In mercy, keep us from great blindness and sin, and enlighten our understanding that, midst of the troubles of earth, we may with deep humility acknowledge the result of our apostasy, and govern our hearts that we may not contend with you, our merciful Creator, but humble ourselves in the midst of our toil and trouble under your almighty hand. Patiently await your help, and comfort ourselves with the fact that the sufferings of this present time are not worthy to be compared with the glory that shall be revealed to your children in the world to come. Have mercy on the entire human race in their affliction. Draw them by your word to you, and help them out of every bodily and spiritual trouble, and open them at last to the kingdom of your joy and glory. Do this for the sake of Jesus Christ, the one Savior of the world. Amen.
Amen. Amen.
Thank you. Jim Frick, would you lead us? Jim Frick, of course, from Sora. Lead us in the real pledge. I know we heard Red Skelton say a version of it a little earlier.
Thank you very much. And thank you all for coming today. Before I have you stand, I'd just like to read something about the veterans before I do the Pledge of Allegiance, if that's okay. Our veterans. It is the veteran, not the preacher, who has given us freedom of religion. It is the veteran, not the reporter, who has given us freedom of the press. It is the veteran, not the poet, who has given us freedom of speech. It is the veteran, not the campus organizer, who has given us freedom to assemble. It is the veteran, not the lawyer, who has given us the right to fair trial. It is the veteran, not the politician, who has given us the right to vote. It is the veteran who salutes the flag. It is the veteran who serves under this flag. Eternal rest grant them, O Lord, and let perpetual light shine upon them. Now, if you would join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jim. Could we have the veterans stand, please? There we go. Thank you. We might just have to press you back in service here soon. I just thought. Did I say that out loud? Okay, I have to watch that editing. Okay. Hey, Judy, you gonna come up? Hello, Judy. Judy, timing. Yeah. Hey. Oh, maintenance crew. Oh, you're taking a managerial step now. Hi, Betty.
Hi. Nice to meet you.
Okay, we got Betty.
Judy.
Both national treasures. So here we go. They're going to be singing "My Country 'Tis of Thee." All right.
So make sure all of you join us. You've got that in insert. Okay. My country 'tis of thee, sweet land of liberty. Of thee I sing. Land where my fathers died, land of the pilgrims' pride. From every mountainside, let freedom ring. Our fathers God to thee, author of liberty, to thee we sing. Long may our land be bright, with freedom's holy light. Protect us by thy might, great God our King.
All right. I love the musical interlude.
Beautiful.
All right. And now, oh my, he blinds me with his red, white, and blue. I love it. Our first speaker today, our first reader, Wally Hicks, Josephine County Legal Counsel. I love the outfit every year. And what's even better, Wally, you still fit it.
In Congress, July 4, 1776, the unanimous declaration of the 13 United States of America. When, in the course of human events, it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them with another, and to assume among the powers of the earth the separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and of nature's God entitle them, a decent respect to the opinions of mankind requires that they should declare the causes which impel them to the separation. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed, that whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it, and to institute new government, laying its foundation on such principles and organizing its powers in such form as to them shall seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness. Prudence, indeed, will dictate that governments long established should not be changed for light and transient causes, and accordingly, all experience has shown that mankind are more disposed to suffer while evils are sufferable than to right themselves by abolishing the forms to which they are accustomed. But when a long train of abuses and usurpations, pursuing invariably the same object, evinces a design to reduce them under absolute despotism, it is their right, it is their duty to throw off such government and to provide new guards for their future security. Such has been the patient sufferance of these colonies, and such is now the necessity which constrains them to alter their former systems of government. The history of the present King of Great Britain is a history of repeated injuries and usurpations, all having in direct object the establishment of an absolute tyranny over these states. To prove this, Let the facts be submitted to a candid world.
Thank you, Wally. And we continue. Ray Hackington, attorney with the Pacific Justice Institute. Ray. Hello, Ray. Oh, there we go. Ray doing great legal work, by the way. Hear more about that.
He has refused his assent to laws, the most wholesome and necessary for the public good. He has forbidden his governors to pass laws of immediate and pressing importance, unless suspended in their operation till his assent should be obtained. And when so suspended, he has utterly neglected to attend to them. He has refused to pass other laws for the accommodation of large districts of people, unless those people would relinquish the right of representation in the legislature, a right inestimable to them and formidable to tyrants only. He has called together legislative bodies at places unusual, uncomfortable, and distant from the depository of their public records for the sole purpose of fatiguing them into compliance with his measures. He has dissolved representative houses repeatedly for opposing with manly firmness his invasions on the rights of the people. He has refused for a long time, after such dissolutions, to cause others to be elected, whereby the legislative powers, incapable of annihilation, have returned to the people at large for their exercise, the state remaining in the meantime exposed to all the dangers of invasion from without and compulsions from within. He has endeavored to prevent the population of these states, for that purpose, obstructing the laws for naturalization of foreigners, refusing to pass others to encourage their migrations hither, and raising the conditions for new appropriations of lands.
Right on. Right on.
Thank you. I don't think we have to give Carl Wilson from KJO a microphone. I think his voice will ride just fine. But we'll be polite.
He has obstructed the administration by justice by refusing his assent to laws for establishing judiciary powers. He's made judges dependent on his will alone for the tenure of their offices and the amount and payment of their salaries. He has erected a multitude of new offices and sent hither swarms of officers to harass our people and eat out of their substance. He's kept among us in times of peace standing armies without the consent of our legislatures. He has affected to render the military independent of and superior to civil power. He has combined with others to subject us to a jurisdiction foreign to our Constitution and unacknowledged by our laws, giving his assent to their acts of pretended legislation, for quartering large bodies of armed troops among us, for protecting them by mock trial from punishment for any murders that they should commit on the inhabitants of these states, for cutting off our trade with all parts of the world, for imposing taxes on us without our consent, for depriving us in many cases of the benefit of trial by jury, for transporting us beyond the seas to be tried for pretended offenses.
And I believe we have a switch. All right. Ron Smith speaks next. Property rights advocate. I believe we need more of those.
For abolishing our free system of English law in a neighboring province, establishing therein an arbitrary government, enlarging its boundaries so as to render it at once an example and fit institute for inducing the same absolute rule in these colonies. For taking away our charter, abolishing our most valuable laws, and altering fundamentally the form of our governments. For suspending our legislature, declaring himself invested with the power to legislate for us all in all cases whatsoever. He has abolished an abdicated government here by declaring us out of his protection and waging war against us. He has plundered our seas, ravaged our coasts, burnt our towns, and destroyed the lives of our people. He has at this time transported large armies of foreign mercenaries to complete the work of death, desolation, and tyranny already began with the circumstances of cruelty and perfidy scarcely paralleled in the barbarous ages and totally unworthy the head of a civilized nation. He has constrained our fellow citizens taken captive on the high seas to bear arms against their country, to become the executioner of their friends and brethren, or to fall themselves by their hands. He's excited domestic insurrection amongst us and has endeavored to bring on the inhabitants of our frontiers the merciless Indian savages whose known rule of warfare is an indistinguishable destruction of all ages and sectors and conditions.
Jonathan Knapp, public safety advocate, safety guy.
In every stage of these oppressions, we have petitioned for redress in the most honorable terms, or most humble terms. Let me not rewrite the Declaration of War. Our repeated petitions have been answered only by repeated injury. A prince whose character is thus marked by every act which may define a tyrant is unfit to be the ruler of the free people. Nor have we been wanting in attention to our British brethren. We have warned them from time to time of attempts by the legislature to extend an unwarrantable jurisdiction over us. We have reminded them of the circumstances of our immigration and settlement here. We have appealed to their native justice and magnanimity, and we have conjured them from the ties of our common kindred to disavow these usurpations, which would inevitably interrupt our connections and correspondence. They too have been deaf to the voice of justice and consequity. We must therefore acquiesce in the necessity which denounces our separation, and hold them as we hold the rest of mankind, enemies in war and peace friends.
And how appropriate to have an instructor in the U.S. Constitution, John Chambers, here to finish.
We, therefore, the representatives of the United States of America in General Congress assembled, appealing to the Supreme Judge of the world for the rectitude of our intentions, do in the name and by the authority of the good people of these colonies, solemnly publish and declare that these united colonies are, and of a right ought to be, free and independent states, that they are absolved from all allegiance to the British crown, or the British clown, and that all political connection between them and the state of Great Britain is and ought to be totally dissolved, and that as free and independent states, they have the full power to levy war, conclude peace, contract alliances, establish commerce, and do all other acts and things which independent states may of right do. And for the support of that declaration, with a firm reliance upon the protection of divine providence, we mutually pledge to ourselves and each other our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor. The original Declaration of Independence, the original Pledge of Allegiance.
Put it together for all of our speakers and leaders. Okay, who can sing God Bless America? Oh, I gotta start? All right. Anybody want to give me a tone? I don't want to sing above or below anyone. God, 1, 2, 3. What? Whoa. What? Oh, he does? Bring him up. Oh, hey, Connor. How you doing, Connor? You been practicing all week? All right, give it a start.
Okay. Ready? You ready? God bless America. Stand beside her and guide her through the light with the light from above. From the mountains to the prairies to the oceans wide with love. God bless America, my home, sweet home. God bless America, my home, sweet home.
By the way, huge thanks to Josephine County Republican Women and Judy Ahrens, the tireless Energizer Bunny. She's been the one that's been making this happen for a number of years. And Judy, do we just wander across the street and have fun? Come on up. Okay, please do.
Well, number one, I really want to thank all of you patriots, and you are patriots, for coming out today from the bottom of my heart. This is awesome, considering everything that's going on in our country and our world. I just want to get a couple announcements. I want to say thank you to the people with the sound effect. This board is wonderful. We have our ladies who have set up everything over here across the street for the barbecue. We've had the guys in Liberty Watch who have set up all the chairs and the awnings and everything. And anybody else who's participated, I just kind of thank you so much. And so wonderful to have you, see you today. Real true patriots. Thank you.
As you've noticed, Judy doesn't have a lot to say. She's got a little shrinking violet. I thank you for showing up, patriot. And the point being is that I was just thinking about Declaration of Independence. You think about how we declared independence from the grandest military power of the era, right? And I remember doing some research trying to figure out, okay, what did we actually go for? Because a lot of it was taxation without representation. There are many other things, as you well know, too. You know what the overall tax load on the colonies were at that time? It's about 2%. About 2%, something like that, when you actually... and you went to war with the biggest guy in the world at that time over a 2% tax rate. What do you think you do with a 2% tax rate right now? Can you imagine if Kate Brown said, you know, instead of that 10% state tax rate, we're going to get 2%. Or maybe 1% with 1% going to the feds. All right, just thinking. You got some big battles going on, and it's going to take more than voting. You got to have your skin in the game. When it does come to the political process, are you helping the politicians? Are you helping good candidates? You know how many times I've talked with people over the years that have said, as an example, let's take Alex Skarlatos, you know, who's trying to take on Peter DeFazio. And I remember talking to people and said, well, have you sent him money? Well, no, but I vote. That doesn't mean anything. I mean, I shouldn't say that voting's meaningless, but the point of the matter is that the mother's milk of politics is supporting the people that have a good story and a good take and can actually make a difference out there. And it's not all about money, but I can assure you that when you're taking on entrenched power, you have to be able to get your story because the system is not going to tell that story for them, all right? So please, be generous. And no, we can't all be revolutionaries out in the street, et cetera, but do what you can. It's more than just voting and watching Fox News, okay? And I watch Fox News, so don't take that the wrong way, but there has been a there's so much focus on what's President Trump. Okay, I like President Trump, but guess what? President Trump's not going to have a heck of a lot to do with the miseries and the intrusions that we have here with our own top executive. And saying top executive and Kate Brown in the same throat, you know, it kind of makes me catch in the back of my throat a little bit, but that is the story. So thank you very much. We'll see you next year. We'll see you if we have any more events coming. Okay, now you're telling me there's more things to say. You said closing announcements. Okay, would you get this right?
Listen, if you're coming across the street to the barbecue, and could you just take a chair with you? Just transport a chair over there, so we'll have some of these chairs over there for you to sit. If you're staying for the barbecue, that's all I need to say. Have a great day.
I love her. It's just one more thing. Judy, we love you. Catch you across the street, barbecue, let's talk. All right, see you next year.
Nice to see you.
Thank you.